This new video right here, man, it came out a day ago. It say he caught his ex and her best friend red-handed. The ending will shock your black ass. So come on, man, let's get it, man. Let's see what's going on.
October 2012, a wooded area outside Gainesville, Florida. A group of local hunters is moving through thick brush when they suddenly stop because of a strong, unusual odor. A little farther ahead, they come across a patch of freshly disturbed soil. It turns out to be a hidden grave. When law enforcement arrives, they recover a body.
Like that?
Because of Florida's intense heat, the remains have deteriorated significantly, making an on-site identification impossible. There's no wallet, no identification, and no personal documents. Only later does a forensic dental examination provide a definitive answer. The person found is 18-year-old engineering student Christian Aguilar. By that point, he had already been listed as missing for 3 weeks. But before we rewind the clock, let me welcome you to the channel.
Damn, ain't that black? Hold on,
Here,
turn some lights on.
We cover only real criminal
like
cases, based exclusively on verified facts.
Don't do me like that now, bro.
If you enjoy this kind of content, consider subscribing and leaving a like. Your support helps. Unmarked grounded and ambitious baits me to can with a promising future case breakdowns. So how did an ambitious young man with a promising future end up buried in an unmarked grave deep in the woods? And why would the key pieces of evidence in this case turn out to be not eyewitness testimony, but an ordinary receipt from a home improvement store and a strange car wash recording captured at 2 o'clock in the morning? Today, we'll break down the story step by step and look at how a dangerous obsession managed to hide behind the appearance of a close friendship for years. To understand where this story begins, we need to go back 3 years. Fall 2009, Miami, Florida. Inside the halls of Doral Academy Preparatory School, 2 teenagers meet, Erica Freeman and Pedro Bravo. They begin dating, and before long, their relationship evolves into a tight-knit trio. The third member of the group is their friend Christian.
Finding Nemo?
They spend nearly all of their free time together, share their plans for the future, and from the outside, everything looks like a completely normal high school friendship. But inside Erica and Pedro's relationship, a serious problem begins to develop. Bravo starts building an invisible cage around his girlfriend. He demands constant updates about where she is and what she's doing, tightly controls her social circle, and cannot tolerate even the smallest rejection. Every attempt Erica makes to assert her independence is met with stubborn resistance. If things don't go according to his plan, Pedro throws emotional tantrums, plays on sympathy, and pushes situations to a level that seems completely unreasonable.
You don't love
that
me
raises
anymore?
an
You don't
obvious
want to
question.
See Poppy happy?
How long can someone live under that kind of
happy?
pressure before deciding to walk away? Most of us have probably seen
stop
behavior
going on
like
these dark
this
screens,
and dismissed it as teenage immaturity, never noticing how possessiveness can gradually transform into something far more dangerous. The breaking point comes in the summer of 2012. Graduation is approaching, and the reality of heading off to different colleges is finally setting in. Erica realizes this is her chance to end the relationship for good. She tells Pedro directly that she's breaking up with him, explaining that a long-distance relationship simply isn't realistic. The rejection hits him like a trigger. He refuses to accept the new reality. At first, he tries tears, lengthy conversations, and repeated attempts to make her feel guilty. But when those familiar tactics stop working, his approach changes fast. Pedro moves on to outright emotional blackmail. He warns Erica that she will deeply regret her decision to leave him. Despite the intense arguments and emotional turmoil, Erica stands by her decision and begins preparing for her move. Back in Miami, Bravo doesn't even try to let go and move forward. Instead, he starts keeping a personal journal that quickly becomes a window into his deteriorating state of mind. Throughout the entire notebook, there isn't a single entry about school, career goals, or hobbies. Page after page is filled with
I'm very nosy. Matter of fact, I can do it like this so we can all see together. Let's. How about we be nosy together? A little short pause break. Ain't nothing serious. And let's see. I don't know what the fuck that is. I know this. That's Minecraft. I don't know what that pink shit is over there. What the fuck is that? What did it say? Sweet escape. You are so close. Leagues to nowhere. I'm pretty sure it say nowhere. I miss you. Heartfelt. Hopeless, but hopeful. Warning. Warning sign. Ah, nah. Stop with these games. You make me smile. Probably bright future ahead. Tit tat insanity. Only time. Free. Breaking. This look like say surrender right here, but do that say surrender? Sincerely? Saragari? No, serenity. This nigga's a fucking lunatic, dude. The fuck? The fuck is wrong with this guy?
Obsessive thoughts about his former girlfriend. He carefully documents every detail related to Erica, feeding a single fixation.
Oh, I see it now. Hold on. I ain't see this right here. This fucking Avatar. I mean, not Avatar, Avenger. And then that's a fucking duck right here. Or a chick. That's the feet, that's the legs, and then the yellow, and okay.
Getting her back at any cost.
I mean, I knew that
what
was
begins as an ordinary notebook gradually turns into a detailed record of a growing obsession, where reality is slowly replaced by the fantasies of someone unable to accept being left behind. In August 2012, the geography of this story changes dramatically. The graduates leave Miami behind. Christian Aguilar is accepted into the University of Florida's...
What's the name of the school? What does she say? Summer come Lord
engineering program and relocates to Gainesville in North Florida.
Yeah, almost.
Erica Fryman moves to the same city after enrolling at Santa Fe College. More than 300 miles now separate them from their former home. Once they're immersed in college life and finally free from constant pressure, Christian and Erica begin spending much more time together. What started as a close friendship from their high school years quickly develops into a genuine romantic relationship.
Whoa. I wasn't even peeping, paying attention. This another nigga?
But the couple makes one firm decision. They will keep the relationship completely secret from their mutual friends. They know Pedro's personality all too well, and they have every reason to be concerned about how he might react. Unfortunately, physical distance doesn't solve the problem. Before long, Pedro packs his belongings and unexpectedly shows up in Gainesville. He presents the move as a fresh start and officially transfers to a local college.
No.
To those around him, he describes himself as being in a serious emotional crisis. According to Pedro, he's struggling with severe depression, can't handle being alone, and desperately needs the support of the only people he considers close to him in this new city. Christian believes him completely. By nature, Christian is an exceptionally compassionate person, and he takes his former friend under his wing. He meets with Pedro regularly, listens to his problems, and genuinely tries to help him pull himself out of his emotional slump. When I look at cases like this, I often find myself thinking about how toxic influence actually works. The real danger is that the aggressor rarely presents himself as a threat. Instead, he carefully positions himself as the victim of circumstances. Perceived emotional vulnerability becomes a tool for gaining access to other people's personal lives. A person deliberately creates a situation where walking away feels like an act of betrayal. It's a calculated method of inserting oneself into someone else's world, yet to everyone watching from the outside, it looks like nothing more than a desperate cry for help. That fragile illusion of secrecy falls apart on September 18th, just 2 days before Christian disappears. At some point, specific rumors reach Pedro. Someone within the group's large circle of friends accidentally lets it slip that Erica and Christian are now together. The The moment he hears this, Pedro immediately calls his former girlfriend. During a tense phone conversation, he directly demands to know whether the rumors are true. Erica, fully aware of the level of aggression he may be capable of, chooses to deny everything.
And you decide to lie.
Firmly rejects the claims and insists that the story is nothing more than gossip.
Oh my God.
But that protective lie has the exact opposite effect. In Pedro's mind, the situation now looks like a complete double betrayal. From his perspective, the facts suddenly seem obvious. Not only is his close friend dating the woman he has spent months obsessing over in his journal, but both of them are now lying directly to him about it.
Oh my God.
At that point, the motive behind the upcoming crime is fully formed.
I don't blame you, boy. I can't, unless I hear something crazy from where we at right now, I don't blame him for doing what he did. You left from being with me because you don't want to do longer distance, but then you go talk to my closest friend, my best friend. Bitch, you got to go.
Hello?
And the countdown to the day of Christian's disappearance begins.
Let me roll up.
September 20th, 2012 finally
These
arrives.
hoes ain't lying.
Earlier that day, Pedro and Christian meet up to spend time together. Their plans seem completely ordinary. First, they stop to grab something to eat. Then, head to a Best Buy store to browse music CDs. It's a typical outing between college students, the kind of thing that wouldn't attract anyone's attention. Later that evening, Erica sends Christian a routine text message. She asks where they'll be meeting and what time she should expect him.
Wait, so his name is the friend name is Christian, and then the ex name is Pedro. So she already texting Christian and shit, asking where they finna link and shit, while he's supposed to be out with your ex? Pedro probably was vibing, chilling, knowing, hey, I'm finna kill this nigga later and shit. He vibing. Rockstar radio all night long. Then ding ding ding. Nigga get a text. He see a picture of that big bubbly face actor. Oh no, you
passes.
gotta go.
Then another.
You gotta go with him.
Her phone screen remains blank. For them, this is completely out of character. Christian and Erica are used to communicating constantly throughout the day,
And she
sharing
expecting to text
updates
back too?
and everyday details almost non-stop. Erica also remembers all too well what it felt like to live under her former boyfriend's constant monitoring, and she's afraid of coming across as overly demanding herself. So she forces herself to put the phone down and wait. She assumes Christian is busy with classes, meeting professors, or dealing with something related to school. It's interesting to see how the human mind works during the first few hours of a potential tragedy. In an age where everyone is constantly connected, our instinct is usually to reject the worst-case scenario.
Nah, for real. That's how I be. My bad. Let me grab this. Let me go.
The brain immediately offers dozens of reasonable explanations for sudden silence. Maybe the phone battery died. Maybe there's no signal. Maybe someone fell asleep after a long day of classes. Nobody's first reaction is to contact law enforcement.
My bad, y'all. Hold on, my shit just. The fuck? What am I supposed to do with this shit? Look, man. My shit just. My shit just snatched out that motherfucker. Look at that shit, cuz. Hey, yo. Fuck around, get electrocuted trying to plug this shit back in there. This. Let me see. Let me see something. Let me find out. Let me see if this bit gonna work. Hold on. Let me see something. Tell me something good. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see something.
Because of 2 unanswered messages. The sense of normalcy remains intact, right up until the number of unanswered calls and texts crosses a line that can no longer be ignored.
All right, my bad, y'all. My bad. Let me get my shit right. Let me make sure soundboard's still on. Oh, straight.
By nighttime, every reasonable explanation has fallen apart. One after another, Erica's calls go straight to voicemail. She can no longer sit in her apartment waiting for answers. Instead, she heads directly to Christian's dorm. She knocks on the door, but when his roommate answers, all he can do is shrug. A troubling detail quickly emerges. He hasn't seen Christian since early that morning, and none of the items Christian normally carried to class have returned to the room either. Back at her apartment, Erica begins what turns into a sleepless search. She opens her contact list and starts calling everyone she can think of. Friends, classmates, mutual acquaintances, and people around campus. Call after call, she asks the same question. Have you seen Christian? Every answer is the same. No. No one has seen Aguilar since earlier that day. By 4 o'clock in the morning, only one number remains on her list. It's the one person she would rather never speak to again. Pedro Bravo. She knows the two were supposed to spend time together that day, and at this point, he's her last remaining lead.
So look, and that's another thing. So you messing around with my best friend, right? And you still letting that fuck nigga come around me. That's so crazy.
Pedro answers. What stands out immediately is how calm he sounds. There's no trace of sleepiness in his voice. He doesn't seem surprised by a phone call in the middle of the night, nor does he sound annoyed. In a casual tone, he confirms that he and Christian did spend the day together.
Because he knew you.
He walks through the timeline step by step. They grabbed something to eat, stopped by Best Buy to shop for music CDs, listened to music, and eventually went their separate ways. According to Pedro, that was the last time he saw Christian. The call ends.
I bet he said, "Wow, what's up?" After he told her
Outside, the sky is beginning to brighten, and one thing is becoming painfully clear. Something is very wrong. When the morning of September 21st arrives, the situation enters a critical stage. After an entire night of unsuccessful searching, Erica contacts Carlos and Claudia, Christian's parents. The moment they learn that nobody has been able to reach their son, they immediately contact emergency services and rush to Gainesville. An official missing person investigation begins. At first, responding officers consider a fairly routine possibility. A first-year college student may have become overwhelmed by the pressures of a new environment and simply left without telling anyone. But a quick look inside Christian's room destroys that theory almost immediately. His clothes are still there. His personal belongings are untouched.
Man.
Everything he would need for daily life remains exactly where it should be. It becomes obvious that he had no plans to leave. While friends begin covering the campus with missing person flyers, detectives bring Pedro in for an interview. As the last known person to see Christian, he instantly becomes the investigation's most important witness. Inside the interview room, Pedro appears completely at ease. He isn't visibly nervous. His answers are clear and direct. Then he adds a new detail that hadn't come up before. According to his latest version of events, he and Christian got into a verbal argument while driving together.
You can't admit
Pedro
stuff like
claims
that,
the disagreement became serious enough that he pulled over, told Christian to get out of the vehicle, and left him on the side of the road.
And if something, I'm gonna pause now. And then if something, let's say you didn't do anything, but you did kick him outside of your car on the side of the road, you
For that,
still most
he
likely
says,
gonna get charged
he drove
with that, my
home
boy.
and went to sleep. That's the story he gives
Or
investigators.
still do some type
At
of
least
time
for
this
now.
shit.
The officers ask Pedro to identify the exact location where he claims he dropped Christian off. He points them toward an area with a long-standing reputation for high crime rates and frequent street activity. Investigators immediately shift resources to that part of town. Patrol units begin searching block by block, covering the area as thoroughly as possible. It's interesting to watch how some people try to outsmart investigators by relying on public assumptions and stereotypes. Pointing attention toward a high-crime neighborhood is almost a textbook tactic. The logic is simple. Convince detectives that Christian became the victim of a random street crime. Let law enforcement spend valuable time searching for unknown offenders while the real trail grows colder. It's a calculated attempt to redirect the investigation.
Crazy. So how many?
But that strategy starts falling apart the moment detectives begin reviewing digital evidence. Investigators collect footage from surveillance cameras throughout the area Pedro identified. They carefully review the recordings. There's one problem. Neither Pedro's vehicle nor Christian appears on any of the footage. In fact, there is no evidence whatsoever that Pedro's car ever traveled through that area. Realizing they've been sent down the wrong path, detectives widen their search.
In like 7 days.
Technical specialists begin requesting video recordings from businesses located in completely different parts of Gainesville. That routine, painstaking work, finally produces the first major break in the case. Investigators discover footage from a 24-hour car wash. The timestamp is clear. 2 o'clock in the morning on September 21st. At the exact time Erica was calling friends and searching for answers, Pedro was on the opposite side of town, meticulously cleaning the interior of his vehicle. Suddenly, the timeline no longer matches the story he gave police earlier that day. The narrative he built begins to crack. On September 24th, detectives bring him back in for another interview. This time, they don't lead the conversation with questions.
What happened to my son?
Instead, they place printed images from the car wash footage directly in front of him. Backed into a corner, Pedro immediately realizes that his alibi has collapsed. Almost instantly, he creates a new version of events. Now he admits that the argument in the vehicle was about Erica. According to this revised account, the disagreement escalated into a physical confrontation. Pedro claims he struck Christian in the face and caused a serious nose injury. He says that's why there was blood inside the vehicle and why he felt the need to clean the interior so thoroughly in the middle of the night. According to his new story, he then left Christian on the side of the road and drove away. Pay close attention to the pattern here. When a person is caught in a lie, they rarely abandon the entire story at once. Instead, they surrender only the portion that's already been disproven by evidence. Need to explain why the vehicle was cleaned? A new story appears about a fight and an injury. It's an attempt to offer investigators a smaller offense in order to conceal something far more serious. And detectives know it. At this point, detectives are facing a major legal obstacle. They are convinced they're dealing with the person responsible. But under the law, without recovering a body, bringing the most serious criminal charge is extremely difficult.
Oh, really?
The suspect...
Wait. If they don't find the body, you can't get charged for murder?
...could invoke his right to an attorney at any moment and potentially walk out of the station. That's when investigators make a smart procedural move. Since Pedro has just admitted on a recorded interview that he seriously injured another person and left him without assistance on the side of the road, they take him into custody on those grounds instead, failing to provide aid and leaving an injured person in a dangerous situation. That legal opening buys investigators something incredibly valuable: time. It also gives them sufficient grounds to secure a search warrant. An investigative team immediately heads to Pedro's apartment. The results come quickly. Inside, detectives discover Christian's backpack hidden within the residence. But the most significant piece of evidence isn't the backpack. It's a seemingly ordinary receipt from a Lowe's home improvement store. Investigators obtain archived surveillance footage from the store and compare the purchase time listed on the receipt with the security recordings. What appears on those screens completely destroys the story about a spontaneous roadside fight.
Ooh, what that boy
The footage captures events that took place shortly after the phone call on September 18th, when Pedro learned the truth about Erica and Christian's relationship. The video shows him moving confidently through the aisles of the store, purchasing a carefully selected group of items. A sturdy shovel, a roll of heavy-duty industrial tape, and a package of powerful over-the-counter sleep aids.
Oh yeah.
At that moment, the entire defense narrative begins to collapse. The receipt and surveillance footage demonstrate that this was not a sudden emotional reaction. This was planning. The items were purchased immediately after Pedro learned what he viewed as a double betrayal, and they remained ready until the opportunity presented itself. Now that investigators have assembled the receipts, surveillance footage, and the evidence later recovered in the wooded area, it's possible to return to September 20th and reconstruct what likely happened that evening. According to the evidence, the sudden argument and mutual fight described by the suspect never occurred. After the two young men leave the electronics store with their purchases, they get into Pedro's vehicle. At some point during the drive, Pedro hands Christian a bottle of Gatorade. Investigators later determined that the drink had been tampered with beforehand.
You didn't hear that Gatorade not snap or pop open?
Dissolved inside was a large quantity of the sleep aid purchased 2 days earlier. According to the prosecution's reconstruction of events, the mixture had been prepared in advance to reduce the possibility of resistance from a physically strong young man. The evidence was beginning to point toward a plan that had started long before either of them got into that car. The vehicle eventually pulls into the large parking lot of a Walmart store. People are still coming and going. The parking lot lights are on. To anyone passing by, everything appears completely ordinary.
Was this back
but
when
inside
Walmart
the
was
vehicle,
still 24 hours?
investigators believe the final stage of the plan is unfolding. According to the prosecution's reconstruction of events, the effects of the sleep aids begin to take hold, and Christian loses consciousness in the passenger seat. Investigators later argued that once Pedro was certain the medication had taken effect, he carried out the act that would ultimately become the center of the case. Medical examiners would later document injuries consistent with their findings, evidence that prosecutors said contradicted any suggestion of a spontaneous confrontation or accidental harm. Once Christian showed no signs of responsiveness, investigators believe Pedro turned to the remaining items he had purchased days earlier. Using the industrial tape, he secured Christian's wrists and ankles and applied additional wrapping around parts of the body. Prosecutors argued that this was a practical step intended to make transportation and concealment easier, while minimizing the risk of leaving evidence behind inside the vehicle. Later that night, the car leaves the parking lot and heads away from the city. Pedro drives deep into a remote wooded area where the ground is relatively soft. There, according to investigators, he uses the shovel purchased earlier to dig a grave. The process takes time. It requires effort. And for detectives, every step points to the same conclusion. This was not an impulsive act. It was a plan carried through to completion. When I look at the level of preparation involved in this crime, I see a classic contradiction that appears in many criminal cases. On one hand, the planning seems methodical. The purchase of sleep aids, the prepared sports drink, and the events that followed all suggest forethought. On the other hand, the same person makes surprisingly basic mistakes. He keeps the store receipt. He visits a car wash in the middle of the night while surrounded by surveillance cameras. He leaves behind a digital trail that investigators are able to follow piece by piece. That misplaced confidence, the belief that no one will connect the dots, often becomes a suspect's biggest weakness. And in this case, detectives were able to assemble the evidence far more quickly than Pedro appeared to expect. What began as a missing person investigation involving a college student had now evolved into a first-degree murder case supported by a growing body of evidence. In August 2014, nearly 2 years after the events of that September night, the case finally reaches trial. Standing before a jury, Pedro Bravo and his defense team present a strategy that many observers find difficult to believe. Pedro no longer disputes several of the key facts. He acknowledges purchasing the shovel. He acknowledges buying the roll of heavy-duty tape. He acknowledges obtaining the sleep aids. But the explanation for those purchases changes completely.
What did he say?
According to the defense, the items had nothing to do with a plan to commit a crime. According to Pedro's new version of events, every one of those items had been purchased for himself. He claims that learning about the secret relationship between two people he trusted caused such overwhelming emotional pain
So you was finna
that
kill
he decided
yourself?
to take his own life.
My nigga, if you was gonna kill yourself, what are you doing with tape, a shovel, and I forgot what the third thing was. So like
In court,
you gonna dig
he
your own
seriously
grave?
argues that he planned to consume a dangerous quantity of sleep aids and that the shovel was intended for digging his own grave in a remote wooded area. Moments
So you
like
just
this
gonna like
reveal
leave
the
the
true
grave,
nature of
like,
manipulation.
not patch the grave?
Pay attention to what's happening here. Faced with overwhelming physical evidence, the defendant refuses to accept responsibility. Instead, he attempts to recast himself as the victim. He tries to shift the focus toward his emotional suffering and broken heart, while ignoring the fact that another young man's life was lost because of his actions. But that strategy quickly falls apart. The prosecution methodically dismantles the image he is trying to create. Prosecutors read portions of his journals to the jury. Those pages contain virtually nothing about depression or self-harm. Instead, they reveal a growing fixation on Erica and repeated expressions of anger surrounding the relationship. Then another witness takes the stand. A former cellmate testifies under oath that while in custody, Pedro openly described the crime in detail and appeared proud of what he had done. Throughout the lengthy trial, observers noticed something else.
That's something I
The
don't
defendant
understand.
shows little visible emotion. There are no tears.
That's something I don't understand. Why do niggas go to jail for something they did, and then y'all go in there before y'all even go to trial or something? Y'all go in there and tell y'all cellmates what y'all did.
No obvious signs of
like
remorse.
that's so stupid.
And when the case finally goes to the jury, deliberations do not take long. The verdict is unanimous. Guilty on all counts. The convictions include first-degree murder, poisoning, providing false statements, and obstruction of justice. The judge then imposes the harshest sentence available. Pedro Bravo is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
No.
In the end, the system of
They look
control he
crazy as
spent
hell.
years trying to build around other people closes in around him instead. Only now, the walls are made
The
of
fuck did
concrete
that picture just go from
closes in
a
around him
frown to a
instead.
smile back there?
Only now,
that look
the
creepy.
walls are made of concrete and steel.
Oh, that's why, because he's
While
smirking.
Pedro is being led away to
say,
begin serving his
that?
sentence,
What?
hundreds of people gather somewhere else entirely. Family members, classmates, and professors come together to honor Christian's memory. They remember a talented, ambitious young man with a bright future ahead of him.
He called. I thought he
A
killed the girl.
person
So he
known
only
for his
killed the best
kindness,
friend?
generosity, and willingness to
I
help
thought he
others.
killed the girl too. She
And
need to
that's
die.
what makes this case so difficult to forget. At its core, this isn't just the story of a criminal investigation. It's a powerful reminder of how important it is to recognize warning signs before they escalate.
Crazy as
Extreme
fuck.
possessiveness, attempts to control another person's freedom, and aggressive reactions to rejection do not develop.
Look how happy. Look how happy he is next to. Ain't this the best friend? Yeah, cause look how look how happy he is next to your
Healthy
girl.
relationships.
You should just knew something was going
Left
on.
unchecked, they often lead to
say, bro, why you
serious
smelling
harm
so hard
and
next to my
lasting
girl, bro?
consequences for everyone involved. Thank you for watching this case breakdown all the way through. Let me know in the comments which part of this case stood out to you the most when it comes to understanding the mindset behind the crime. I'll be
Alright, y'all, that's the end of this video, man. Nigga killed his best friend, found out because he found out him and his ex-girl was fucking on each other. She was sucking his dick. But yeah, at the end of the day, you hoes need to stop doing niggas wrong. At the end of the day, make sure y'all treat y'all girl good, bro, because another nigga will do it. But look, it say, what? Dad gives daughter STDs hot body for 2 years. Oh man, I don't want to see that. I ain't watching that one. Hey, but y'all, we out this motherfucker, bro. I'll find another video to react to.